Hello everyone, today's video I'll be talking about TriStar's Godzilla in 1998. That's a lot of fish. I covered the total Godzilla movies, now it's on to the American Godzilla movies. Yes, I know this is not a total Godzilla movie, but sadly it's part of the Godzilla series in a different way. It was directed by Roland Emmerich, who prior directed Universal Soldier, Stargate, Independence Day, and later going to direct movies like The Patriot, The Day After Tomorrow, and 2012. Like a lot of 90s kids, this is my first introduction to Godzilla before the internet, way before I knew about the original Godzilla, Toho Godzilla movie franchise series. This is the first Godzilla movie not made by Toho. In 1993, TriStar acquired the rights from Toho to make their version of American Godzilla trilogy. Despite this movie's bad rep, like a lot of kids who grew up watching this movie, I had the toys of this movie. Basically, that's how this movie made money from its marketing. Toys for kids, Spaceballs, merchandising. I'm also not going to lie, as a little kid, I liked this movie. As I've gotten older, now I see how bad this movie is. And I learned this is not really a Godzilla movie. I don't hate this movie. I have mixed feelings about it. I can take it or leave it with this movie. After watching so many different Godzilla movies, I have a different perspective on how Godzilla movies are supposed to be made. A lot of fans joke about this movie. This is basically Ferris Bueller meets Godzilla.
Well, you should be sorry, TriStar, for Christ's sake. You try to make an American Godzilla, but you insult Godzilla!
His name is Nick Totopoulos. There's a running joke about how people mispronouncing his name throughout the entire movie. His girlfriend Arge is a very bland, forgetful character, not very interesting. You felt bad for the way her boss treats her, but she does something really bad, stealing a top-secret video from Nick and goes on the news. VHS tapes, that is so 90s. If this came out today, Audrey basically would have posted this online on social medias for internet viral. We see why she did it, but at the same time, it's still no excuse because that was a top secret videotape that was not supposed to go on the media news. Animal's a cameraman who catches video footage of Godzilla, was an alright character, but nothing special. He almost got squashed by Godzilla and he's lucky to be alive. In real life, he'd be dead if he got squished by Godzilla. Next time, if you want to film Godzilla, just film to the side, big dummy. His wife was annoying, but yes, you can say that was the whole point, the intention. Even though this movie sucked, the characters are lame and bland. The one okay good character in this movie was Felipe, played by Jean Reno. You might recognize him from the movie Leon the Professional. I've heard that's a good movie, but I've never seen that movie before. Jean Reno was good, but the rest of these characters stink. If Jean Reno's character was the focus of this movie, this could have worked out alright. Like I said, the characters are bland cliché from a 90s sci-fi action movie, and that was the intention of this movie. A summer blockbuster bland sci-fi action movie. The look of Godzilla looks nothing like the original. He does not breathe fire from his mouth, and for once, the military missile weapons work on killing Godzilla. When helicopters are chasing Godzilla or Zilla, whatever you want to call him, this reminded me of like rip-offs of like flying scene in other movies or helicopters like Batman 89, True Lies, or even a little Star Wars. He doesn't find a giant monster in this movie, and that sucks. From watching James Rolfe Godzilla 98 video in his Godzilla-a-thon Monster Madness series, originally, they wanted Godzilla to fight a giant monster in this movie called the Griffin. I'm not sure why that idea was scrapped. Maybe the look is not horrible, I just wish they did not call this movie Godzilla and call him a different giant monster. From what I've heard from Godzilla fans, they call this one Zilla, which maybe that could have worked. The movie combines using both CGI and practical special effects. The CGI is awful, it does not hold up today, and it's no guy in a rubber suit. Actually, correction, there were some certain scenes in the movie where it was a guy in a rubber suit. He was played by Kurt Carley. I feel like Roland Emmerich had no idea how to make a Godzilla movie, did not understand the Godzilla format. I once read he did not like the original first Godzilla movies, not a fan of Godzilla movies, had no respect for Godzilla movies. Well, why did TriStar hire this guy to direct the movie then? My guess is he got cocky thinking he could direct a better Godzilla movie. Boy, was he wrong. When you watch this movie, you can tell he was not passionate about making this movie. I don't hate Roland Emmerich as a film director. He hasn't done anything special where he blew my mind away. He's an okay, mediocre director. I liked Independence Day, not saying it was a masterpiece. He basically does the same thing repeatedly in natural disaster movies. I saw parts of The Patriot with Mel Gibson and Heath Ledger. That was an historic movie, not one of his few natural disaster movies. When a film director like him does the same thing over and over again, you lose interest. The movie's basically a knockoff to Jurassic Park because that big Jurassic Park was 5 years earlier, and they tried way too hard to compete with that. When Matthew Broderick and Gene Reed and those characters find Godzilla eggs at Madison Square Garden, they hatch and the baby Godzillas feel like a knockoff to the Velociraptors from Jurassic Park. When you think about it, Godzilla's a female in this movie. This Godzilla can reproduce asexually. The baby Godzillas are born pregnant. That's an interesting, scary concept, but justice was not served on this idea. There's no minion baby Godzilla. It's an army of baby Godzillas instead. Also, this movie is more of a semi-loose remake to The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms than it was a Godzilla remake. Back when I did my video on The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, I mentioned this. Link in the description to compare my thoughts of this movie to The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. The movie ends on a cliffhanger ending where we see there was one egg that survived, hatches, sending for another sequel, but because this movie was a box office failure, they canceled the trilogy. There was a 90s animated sequel series cartoon, but I only saw random episodes. It was definitely a lot better than this movie. At some point, I really like to watch the rest of that series. It's a bad movie, but it's not one of the worst movies. Nowhere near worse compared to Batman and Robin, Superman 4, Plan 9 from Outer Space, The Room, and King Kong Lives. This movie came out in 1990. The previous year, the sequel to Jurassic Park came out, The Lost World. Well, despite that movie also getting a mixed reception, it was definitely a lot better than this movie. The scene where the T-Rex attacks LA was cool from a non-Godzilla movie. Despite this movie's bad box office and negative reception from fans, it's surprising I had a good mark for not knowing what Godzilla looked like, so that way fans can go see the movie. Sometimes I wonder if people think it was a rushed Jurassic Park sequel, or just another dinosaur movie, before they found out it was Godzilla. The movie pokes fun at Siskel and Ebert because they were not a fan of Roland Eminert's previous movies he directed. Well, that's not their fault. The movie is basically a knockoff to Independence Day, but with Godzilla. The other thing fans point out why this movie stinks is because it's called Godzilla. If this movie is called something else, then maybe this movie could have worked out. The movie tried too hard to not understand what makes a good Godzilla movie. It's not the worst movie ever made. As I've gotten older, my opinions have changed. I don't have the same liking to this movie compared as a kid as I've gotten older. Once I saw the original Japanese Godzilla movie, it makes you respect the original a lot more. If the movie was not called Godzilla, then who knows what this movie's reputation could have been. But in a weird way, this is my start, my intro to Godzilla way before I knew about the history of Godzilla movies or the original movie. It's a goofy, cheesy movie, not like the 60s and 70s Godzilla movies. It's more the cheesy action side for the 90s. Also surprising, in recent years, the movie has gained a cult following. Before I end this video, here is Christian's recording on Godzilla in 1998.
So, the 1998 Godzilla, I'm not a fan, but I also think the worst thing about this movie is simply that it's called Godzilla. If it were called anything else, I think this movie would have gone over a little bit better. I still don't think it's a great movie, but I just think, like, if it marketed itself as its own movie or even as a remake of Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, I think this could have... Again, I don't think it would have been a hit necessarily, but I think it would have gone over better than it actually did.
My advice is don't watch this movie. You're starting out with Godzilla movies. Avoid this one. Avoid it like the plague. After TriStar's failure of an attempt at an American Godzilla movie, this is why Toho responded making a new Godzilla series, the Millennium Godzilla series. As I said in my Millennium Godzilla video, it was where they referenced this movie in GMK. We didn't get another American Godzilla movie for another 16 years, the Monsterverse. That'll be my next video, and see you next time.